The Galactic Concord had existed for 12,000 years. It was a union of 73 different alien species who had learned to live together in peace. They had fought wars long ago, terrible wars that killed billions. After those dark times, they made a promise to never fight again. They built stations in space where they could meet and talk. They created rules that everyone followed. And for thousands of years, the galaxy was quiet. The Concord was led by a high council made up of representatives from the oldest and wisest species. They met on a space station called Harmony Prime, a beautiful structure built on a small asteroid far from any dangerous areas. The station had tall towers made of crystal that caught the light of distant stars. Gardens filled with plants from 100 different worlds grew in its central dome. It was a place of peace, and everyone who came there felt safe. High Counselor Yiren was a Melodari, a tall insect-like creature with 4 arms and wings that shimmered with every color imaginable. She had led the council for 200 years, and she was very good at her job. She knew how to make different species work together. She understood that everyone was afraid of something, and that fear could be managed with patience and kindness. One morning, Yiren received a report that changed everything. The long-range sensors had detected something unusual. A small planet orbiting a yellow star on the edge of the galaxy was sending signals into space. Not random signals, but organized ones. Patterns that could only come from intelligent life. The scientists studied the signals for months before they were certain. There was a new species out there. They called themselves humans, and they lived on a world called Earth. Yiren called an emergency meeting of the High Council. Ambassador Crix of the Villani was the first to speak. The Villani were small creatures covered in soft purple fur. They had large eyes and gentle voices, and their bodies produced special smells that could calm anyone nearby. The Villani were always chosen for difficult diplomatic missions because they made everyone feel comfortable. "We must be careful," Crix said in his soft voice. "New species are unpredictable. We do not know what these humans want." Councillor Dreth of the Korthani agreed. The Korthani were tiny beings who looked like earth rodents, though no one in the Concord knew that yet. They were nervous by nature and always expected the worst. "What if they are violent?" Dreth squeaked. "What if they want to conquer us?" Yiren raised one of her 4 hands for silence. "We have welcomed new species before. We have a process. We will follow it." The process was simple. The Concord would send a message inviting the new species to a peace summit. They would explain that the galaxy was full of intelligent life and that everyone was welcome to join the Concord. They would offer friendship and trade. They would be patient and kind. This approach had worked 72 times before. The council agreed to send the invitation. Crix volunteered to record the message himself, using his calming voice and gentle words. "Greetings from the Galactic Concord," the message began. "We are a union of peaceful species who wish to welcome you to our family. We invite you to send representatives to our station, Harmony Prime, where we can meet and learn about each other. We come in peace and hope that you will accept our friendship." The message was transmitted toward Earth. Then the council waited down on Earth. The signal was picked up by a satellite network and sent to the United Nations Space Command headquarters in Houston. Admiral Jake Collins was eating his lunch when his assistant ran into his office with the news. He dropped his sandwich and stared at the decoded message on the screen. "This is real?" he asked. "Yes, sir. We have confirmed it 6 times. This is a message from an alien civilization." Jake read the message again and again. He was 62 years old and had spent his entire career preparing for a moment like this. He had always believed that humanity was not alone in the universe. Now he had proof. He picked up his phone and made the most important call of his life. Within hours, the leaders of every nation on Earth knew about the message. There were arguments, of course. Some people wanted to ignore the invitation. They said it could be a trap. Others wanted to send weapons, just in case. But most people agreed that this was too important to miss. Humanity had to respond. Captain Lisa Morgan was chosen to lead the diplomatic mission. She was 45 years old, with short brown hair and calm gray eyes. She had spent 20 years in the Navy before transferring to the Space Command. Everyone who worked with her said the same thing. Lisa Morgan did not panic. No matter how bad things got, she stayed calm and found a solution. Lisa studied the alien message carefully. She noticed that the coordinates they had provided were in a remote area of space, far from Earth. The aliens were being cautious, which was smart. She would be cautious too. Commander Ryan Torres was assigned to lead the security team. He was a big man with broad shoulders and a friendly smile that hid a sharp mind. Ryan had served in combat zones around the world, but he hoped this mission would be peaceful. He picked 6 of his best Marines to come with him. The ship they would take was the USS Horizon, the newest and largest vessel in humanity's small fleet. It had been built for exploration, with comfortable quarters and advanced communication systems. It was not a warship, though it did carry weapons for defense. Lisa thought it would make a good impression. The crew spent 2 weeks preparing for the journey. They learned everything they could about the alien message, trying to understand the technology and language behind it. They practiced diplomatic protocols and studied the history of first contact in science fiction. Hoping to avoid any mistakes, on the day of departure, millions of people around the world watched the USS Horizon lift off from its orbital dock. Lisa stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, an ancient civilization was waiting to meet them. "Begin jump sequence," she ordered. The ship hummed with energy as its faster-than-light engines activated. Space itself seemed to bend around them. And then, in a flash of light, the USS Horizon was gone. On Harmony Prime, High Counselor Uran received word that the humans had accepted the invitation. She felt pleased. Another species would join the Concorde. Another friend would be made. She ordered her staff to prepare a welcome ceremony and went to bed early, expecting the next few days to be busy but routine. She had no idea how wrong she was. The journey through faster-than-light space took 3 days. For the crew of the USS Horizon, those days passed slowly. Everyone was nervous and excited at the same time. They were about to meet alien life for the first time in human history. Nobody knew what to expect. Captain Lisa Morgan spent most of her time in her quarters, reading and rereading the alien message. She practiced her greeting speech until she could say it in her sleep. She wanted everything to be perfect. First impressions mattered, and humanity would only get one chance to make a good one. Commander Ryan Torres kept himself busy by checking the security arrangements. His Marines were the best in the service, but even they seemed jumpy. Ryan reminded them to stay calm and professional. They were not going to a battle. They were going to a meeting. Lieutenant Megan Carter worked at the communication station, trying to learn as much as possible about alien languages and customs. The message they had received was translated, but she wanted to understand the original. Maybe there were meanings hidden in the words that the translation had missed. On the morning of the 4th day, the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The transition was smooth, like waking up from a deep sleep. One moment they were in the strange blue tunnel of jump space. The next moment, they were floating in normal space, surrounded by stars. And there, directly ahead, was Harmony Prime. Lisa stared at the view screen, her breath catching in her throat. The station was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. Crystal towers rose from an asteroid like flowers reaching for the sun. Lights sparkled in 1,000 different colors. Delicate bridges connected the towers, and gardens of impossible plants grew in transparent domes. It looked like something from a dream. "My God," Megan whispered from her station. "It is real." "Receiving docking instructions," announced the pilot, a young man named Ben Hayes. He was 28 years old and had more experience flying spacecraft than anyone else in the fleet. His hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. "They want us to approach Dock 7 on the outer ring." Lisa nodded. "Take us in, nice and slow. Let them get a good look at us." Ben guided the horizon toward the station. He followed the approach path exactly, not wanting to make any mistakes. The ship moved smoothly through space, its engines barely making a sound. Inside Harmony Prime, the aliens were watching. Ambassador Crix stood at an observation window in the main reception hall. He had helped prepare the welcome ceremony and was feeling quite proud of himself. The decorations were perfect. The refreshments were ready. Everything was in order. Then he saw the human ship. At first, his brain could not process what he was seeing. The object coming toward the station was enormous. It filled the window, blocking out the stars behind it. It was bigger than anything he had ever seen in space before. "What is that?" he asked in a small voice. A Courtney technician checked her instruments. Her tiny paws were shaking. "It is the human vessel, Ambassador. The USS Horizon." "That cannot be right." "Check again." "I have checked 3 times. That is their ship." Crix felt his legs go weak. Every ship in the Galactic Concord was small. The largest vessels were no more than 50 meters long. The Villani ships were even smaller, only 20 meters at most. But this human ship, this Horizon, was nearly 400 meters from front to back. It was 8 times larger than anything they had ever seen. Alarms began to sound across the station. Automated systems had detected the approaching object and classified it as a threat. Emergency protocols activated. Shields went up. Weapons powered on. High, Counselor Yurin rushed to the command center, her wings buzzing with agitation. She found chaos. Officers were running in every direction. Warning lights flashed on every screen. The station's computer kept repeating the same message over and over. "Large object approaching. Possible collision. All personnel prepare for emergency evacuation." "Turn off those alarms," Yurin ordered. "That is not an asteroid. That is our guests." The Dromathy officer looked at her with disbelief. The Dromathy were beings made of living crystal, tall and elegant, with bodies that rang like bells when they spoke. "Counselor, that ship is massive. If the humans wanted to, they could ram this station and destroy it completely. They are not going to ram us. They are here for a peace summit. With a warship?" Yurin had no answer for that. She watched the human vessel grow larger and larger on the screen. It was moving slowly, but that only made it more frightening. It was like watching a predator stalk its prey. In the reception hall, panic had already begun. The Courtney delegates abandoned their posts and fled to their quarters. The Villani tried to calm everyone down, but their pheromones had no effect. Fear spread through the station like a disease. On the USS Horizon, the crew had no idea what was happening. Ben Hayes guided the ship carefully toward Dock 7, following the instructions exactly. The dock was small compared to the Horizon, but he managed to connect without any problems. It was some of his best flying. "Docking complete," he announced. "We are secure." Lisa allowed herself a small smile. "Good work, everyone. Let us get ready to meet our new friends." She led the way to the airlock, where Ryan and his Marines were already waiting. Everyone was dressed in their best uniforms. Everyone looked sharp and professional. They had practiced this moment 100 times. Lisa checked her appearance one last time in a reflective panel near the door. She saw a calm, confident woman looking back at her. Perfect. That was exactly the impression she wanted to make. "Open the airlock," she ordered. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Beyond it was a short corridor leading to the station. Lisa straightened her shoulders and walked forward, her footsteps echoing in the quiet space. Ryan and the Marines followed close behind. They emerged into the reception hall and stopped. The room was huge, easily the size of a football field. Crystal pillars stretched up to a ceiling covered in glowing symbols. Strange plants grew in pots along the walls. And at the far end of the room, huddled together in a tight group, were the aliens. Lisa had expected a formal greeting. She had expected speeches and ceremonies. Instead, she saw creatures of all shapes and sizes staring at her with what could only be described as terror. One of the aliens, a small furry creature with big eyes, made a high-pitched sound and collapsed to the floor. Lisa froze. What just happened? Ryan leaned close and whispered, "I think it fainted." "Why would it faint?" "I do not know." "Maybe we did something wrong?" Lisa looked around the room, trying to understand. The aliens were keeping their distance, pressing themselves against the walls as if trying to get as far away from the humans as possible. Some of them were shaking visibly. Others had closed their eyes completely. High Counselor Yiren stepped forward. She was trying very hard to appear calm, but her wings were trembling. "Welcome to Harmony Prime," she said. Her voice came through a translator as a flat, mechanical tone. "We are honored by your presence." Lisa smiled, hoping to put everyone at ease. "Thank you. We are honored to be here." Her voice boomed through the hall, much louder than she had intended. 3 more Korthmi fainted on the spot. Ryan muttered under his breath, "This is not going well." Lisa could only nod. Something was very wrong here, and she had no idea what it was. All she knew was that humanity's first contact with alien life was not going according to plan at all. The reception hall remained frozen in an uncomfortable silence. Captain Lisa Morgan stood near the airlock door, trying to figure out what she had done wrong. The aliens were still huddled at the far end of the room. Several unconscious Korthani were being carried away by their companions. The atmosphere was nothing like the warm welcome she had expected. High Counselor Yiren forced herself to move forward, though every instinct in her body told her to run away. The human female standing before her was tall and solid, with a posture that radiated confidence. Everything about her screamed predator. But Yiren was a diplomat. She had faced difficult situations before. She could handle this. "Perhaps," Yiren said carefully, "we should show you to your quarters. You must be tired from your journey." Lisa nodded gratefully. "That would be wonderful." "Thank you." Yiren turned and led the way through a side corridor. She walked quickly, her forelegs clicking against the polished floor. Behind her, the human delegation followed at what they thought was a respectful pace. To the alien observers watching from hidden cameras, it looked like hunters stalking their prey. Ambassador Crix hurried to catch up with Yiren. He was breathing hard, his purple fur damp with nervous sweat. "Counselor, we need to talk. Privately. Not now, Ambassador." "But the humans, they are." "I know what they are. I have eyes." Crix fell silent, but his expression made his feelings clear. He was terrified. The corridor opened into a residential section of the station. Here, the walls were softer, decorated with woven tapestries and glowing crystals. Small windows looked out at the stars. It was meant to feel homey and comfortable. The Melodari designers had spent years making it perfect. Yiren stopped in front of a large door. "These are the quarters we have prepared for you." They were designed for the Melodari, one of our larger species. "We hope you will find them suitable." Lisa stepped through the door and looked around. The room was spacious by alien standards, with curved walls and soft lighting. There was a bed shaped like a nest, a bathing area with flowing water, and a small garden filled with purple flowers. It was beautiful. There was just one problem. The ceiling was only about 5 feet high. Commander Ryan Torres, ducked his head to enter, and immediately hit his skull on a hanging light fixture. He grunted in surprise and rubbed his head. Ow! Lisa looked at the ceiling, then at Yurin. She did not want to seem ungrateful. This is lovely. Very cozy. Yurin felt something like relief. Perhaps the humans were not as aggressive as they appeared. Perhaps they were simply large and did not realize how intimidating they looked. She made a mental note to have larger quarters prepared as soon as possible. We will leave you to rest, Yurin said. The Peace Summit will begin tomorrow morning. Until then, please feel free to explore the station. Our hospitality is yours. She bowed slightly and left, closing the door behind her. Lisa waited until she was sure the aliens were gone before turning to her team. Okay, what just happened out there? Lieutenant Megan Carter was checking her translation device. I recorded everything. Their body language, their vocal patterns. Give me a few hours, and I might have some answers. Do it. Ryan, what did you notice? Ryan crossed his arms, a thoughtful look on his face. They were scared, Captain. Not just nervous, genuinely scared. Some of them could barely stand up. Scared of what? Of us, I think. Lisa frowned. That did not make sense. Humanity had come in peace. They had accepted an invitation. They had done everything right. Why would the aliens be afraid of them? Maybe it is cultural, suggested Private Amy Brooks, one of the Marines. She was young, only 23, but she had a sharp mind. Different species have different customs. Maybe standing tall is seen as a threat. Maybe our voices are too loud. We do not know their rules yet. Good point, Lisa said. From now on, everyone moves slowly and speaks softly. We do not know what might frighten them, so we need to be careful about everything. The team spent the next few hours reviewing the recordings and making plans. Megan worked on translating the alien body language, while Ryan organized patrol schedules for the Marines. Lisa wrote a detailed report to send back to Earth, though she was not sure what to say. How do you explain that your first contact with alien life had been a disaster? That evening, Lisa decided to take a walk around the station. She wanted to see more of it, and she hoped that being visible might help the aliens get used to her presence. She left Ryan in charge and stepped out into the corridor. The station was quiet. Most of the aliens seemed to have retreated to their quarters. The few that Lisa saw quickly moved out of her way, pressing themselves against walls and averting their eyes. It was like walking through a ghost town. She found a garden in the central dome and sat down on a bench. The plants around her were strange and beautiful, with leaves and colors she had never seen before. The air smelled sweet, like honey mixed with flowers. For a moment, she forgot about the awkward arrival and just enjoyed the peace. A soft sound made her look up. A small creature was watching her from behind a bush. It looked like a squirrel, but with 6 legs and golden fur. Its large eyes were fixed on Lisa with obvious curiosity. "Hello there," Lisa said gently. "I am not going to hurt you." The creature tilted its head, as if trying to understand her words. Then, very slowly, it crept forward. Its tiny nose twitched as it sniffed the air. Lisa stayed very still. She did not want to scare it away. The creature came closer and closer until it was right next to her foot. It sniffed her shoe, sneezed, and then jumped onto the bench beside her. Lisa held her breath as it climbed up her arm and settled on her shoulder. "Well," she whispered, "at least someone here is not afraid of me." She sat there for a long time, the little creature dozing on her shoulder. The stars shone through the dome above her. For the first time since arriving, Lisa felt hopeful. Maybe things would get better. Maybe the aliens just needed time to adjust. She did not know that security cameras had recorded the entire scene. She did not know that the alien analysts watching were shocked to see a wild animal approach a human without fear. She did not know that this simple moment would become one of the most discussed events of the entire summit. When Lisa finally returned to her quarters, she found the team waiting for her. Megan had finished her analysis and was ready to share her findings. "I think I know why they are scared," Megan said. "It is not just one thing. It is everything about us." "Explain." "Our ship is huge compared to theirs. Our bodies are much larger and heavier than most species here. Our voices are louder. Our movements are more direct. Even our eyes, Captain. The way we look at things. To them, we look like predators." Lisa sat down heavily. "We look like predators?" "Yes. Most intelligent species in the galaxy evolved from prey animals, not predators. They are wired to fear anything that seems like a threat. And we set off every alarm in their brains." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity was not just strange to these aliens. Humanity was terrifying, and they had no idea how to fix it. "The summit is tomorrow," Lisa said finally. "We have one chance to make this right. We need to show them that we are friendly, that we are not a threat." "Any ideas?" Ryan spoke up. "We could leave our uniforms behind. Dress casual. Maybe that will make us seem less military." Megan nodded. "I can prepare a presentation about Earth. Show them our art, our music, our culture. Things that prove we are not just warriors." "Good," Lisa said. "Let us get to work. By tomorrow morning, we need to have a plan." They worked through the night, preparing for what might be the most important meeting in human history. The second day of the Peace Summit began very differently from the first. Captain Lisa Morgan arrived at the meeting hall wearing the softest, most colorful clothes she could find. She had borrowed a flowing robe from the ship's cultural collection, something that had been designed for a diplomatic visit to a Pacific Island nation. It made her look less like a soldier and more like a friendly visitor. The rest of her team followed her lead. Commander Ryan Torres had traded his jacket for a loose sweater. Lieutenant Megan Carter wore a dress covered in bright flowers. Even the Marines looked relaxed, smiling and nodding at every alien they passed. High Counselor Yiren met them at the door. She seemed calmer today, though her wings still trembled slightly when she looked at the humans. "I appreciate your efforts," she said quietly. "The change in your appearance has not gone unnoticed." Lisa smiled gently. "We want to make this work. Whatever it takes." The summit resumed with a new atmosphere. The aliens were still nervous, but they were no longer running away. Some of them even managed to look directly at the human delegation without flinching. While Aaron stood at the head of the table and addressed the gathered representatives. "Yesterday was difficult for all of us. We encountered things we did not understand, and our fears got the better of us. Today, I ask that we approach this summit with open minds. The humans are different from us, yes, but different does not mean dangerous." A Courtney delegate raised a tiny paw. "With respect, Counselor, we saw what lives on their planet. Those creatures are definitely dangerous. The creatures on Earth are dangerous to each other," Yiren agreed. "But the humans have learned to live among them. They have adapted. Perhaps that is something we can learn from." Lisa decided to take a risk. She stood up slowly, keeping her movements calm and controlled. "May I speak?" Yiren nodded. "I want to tell you a story about my people," Lisa began. "Thousands of years ago, humans were weak. We had no claws, no fangs, no armor. The predators you saw in our presentation, they hunted us. They killed us. We were prey, just like your ancestors." The room fell silent. The aliens were listening intently. "But we did not give up," Lisa continued. "We learned to work together. We built tools. We created fire. We found ways to protect ourselves and our families. Over time, we became stronger. Not because we grew claws or fangs, but because we used our minds. She paused, looking around the room at the assembled species. Eventually, we became so successful that the predators were no longer a threat. We could have destroyed them all. We had the power. But instead, we chose to protect them. We built special places where they could live safely. We studied them and learned from them. We even invited them into our homes. Ambassador Crix raised his head, his large eyes blinking with confusion. Why would you do that? Why protect the things that once tried to kill you? Lisa smiled. Because they are part of our world. Because we believe that all life has value. And because, in a strange way, they made us who we are. Without the challenge of the predators, we might never have evolved to become intelligent. They were our enemies once, but they also taught us to be strong. The room was very quiet. The aliens were processing this new information, trying to fit it into their understanding of the universe. A Dramathy delegate, one of the crystalline beings who had not shattered during the wildlife presentation, made a chiming sound. You are saying that your species evolved not in spite of your dangerous world, but because of it? Exactly, Lisa said. Earth made us what we are. The challenges, the dangers, the competition for survival. All of it shaped us into a species that could eventually reach the stars. Yirin stepped forward, her wings finally still. I think I understand now. You are not aggressive because you evolved from predators. You are strong because you survived among them. Yes, we are survivors. That is what defines us. Not violence, not conquest. Survival. The summit continued for several more hours. The aliens asked many questions about Earth, about human history, about the strange relationship between humans and the other creatures on their planet. Lisa answered as honestly as she could, and Megan provided images and data to support her explanations. By the end of the day, the atmosphere in the room had changed completely. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something new. Curiosity, interest, even a little bit of admiration. When the final session concluded, Yirin asked Lisa to stay behind. They walked together through the crystal corridors of Harmony Prime, two very different beings trying to find common ground. I owe you an apology, Yirin said. We judged your species before we knew you. We assumed that because you looked frightening, you must be frightening. That was wrong of us. Lisa shook her head. You had every reason to be cautious. We arrived in a massive ship. We showed you images of creatures that would give anyone nightmares. I do not blame you for being scared. But you were not trying to scare us. You were just being yourselves. Yes, that is all we know how to do. They stopped at a window overlooking the garden where Lisa had sat the night before. The small golden creature she had befriended was there, playing among the flowers. That animal, Yirin said. It is called a shimmer mouse. They are very timid. They run from almost everyone. But the security footage showed you sitting with one on your shoulder. Lisa smiled at the memory. It was curious. It wanted to see what I was. Our scientists are fascinated by that moment. They say it proves something important about your species. Prey animals can sense danger instinctively. The fact that a shimmer mouse approached you means that on some deep level, it recognized that you were not a threat. Maybe it was just brave. Yirin made a sound like laughter. Perhaps, but I prefer my interpretation. It means that despite everything, despite your size and your strength and your history with predators, there is gentleness in you, kindness. The shimmer mouse could see it even when we could not. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars through the window. The council will vote tomorrow, Yirin said eventually. I believe they will accept your species into the Concord. There will be conditions, of course. Restrictions until everyone is more comfortable. But you will be welcome. Lisa felt a wave of relief wash over her. Thank you, That means more than you know. There is one more thing. I will be writing an official report about this summit. It will be read by every species in the Concord for generations to come. I want you to know what I am going to say. Lisa waited. Yiren turned to face her compound eyes gleaming in the starlight. I am going to write that the humans are the most terrifying species we have ever encountered. Your strength, your endurance, your ability to survive in conditions that would kill any of us. All of it is genuinely frightening. Lisa started to speak, but Yiren held up a hand. But I am also going to write that despite all of this, you do not seem to know how scary you are. You genuinely believe that you are friendly. You truly want to be our allies. And perhaps, in your own strange way, you are right. You are survivors, and survivors understand the value of cooperation. You are predators who learn to be kind. And that, I think, makes you the most remarkable species in the galaxy. Lisa felt tears prick her eyes. That is very generous of you. It is simply the truth. Now come, let me show you the gardens before tomorrow's vote. I think you will appreciate the night-blooming flowers. They are quite beautiful. They walked together through the station. Two ambassadors from very different worlds, beginning what would become a long and surprising friendship. The next morning, the council voted unanimously to admit humanity to the Galactic Concord. The news spread across the galaxy within hours. Species who had never met humans began preparing for their arrival, half excited and half terrified. And in a small garden on Harmony Prime, a shimmer mouse sat on the shoulder of a human woman, utterly unafraid. As the stars wheeled slowly overhead, the universe would never be quite the same.